This season, Instacart has your back to school. As in, they've got your back to school lunch favorites like snack packs and fresh fruit. And they've got your back to school supplies like backpacks, binders, and pencils. And they've got your back when your kid casually tells you they have a huge school project due tomorrow. Let's face it, we were all that kid. So first, call your parents to say I'm sorry, and then download the Instacart app to get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes all school year long. Get a $0 delivery fee with your first 3 orders while supplies last. Minimum $10 an order. Additional terms apply.
We acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to This Song Is Yours, a podcast where we dive deep into the world of songwriting and music. I'm your host, Simon Fink, and I'm thrilled to have you with us today. Our guest on the podcast is the Australian alternative pop trio Telenova. Originally brought together by Chris Waller of Death Cab for Cutie, Telenova has spent the last 3 years crafting dark, moody and romantic alt-pop with elements of electronica and trip-hop. The trio features the talents of filmmaker Angeline Armstrong on vocals, along with multi-instrumentalists Edward Quinn and Joshua Moriarty. They first caught the attention of fans with their Tranquilize EP back in 2021, and since then they've continued to evolve their sound and grow their fan base. Now today marks a very special occasion as the band releases their highly anticipated debut full-length record titled Time is a Flower. In today's episode, we have the pleasure of welcoming back frontwoman Angeline Armstrong to this very podcast to chat all things Time is a Flower. We dive deep into the creative process behind the album and the inspiration fueling its tracks. We also discuss the experience of working with Stylez Fuego, who some of you might recognise from his collaborations with Troye Sivan, and how his involvement has influenced the studio dynamic. Angeline also shares her personal journey into songwriting and what fans can expect when they take Time is a Flower out on the road. We want to extend a massive thank you to Miriam for her help with today's episode, and we'd like to remind you to grab tickets for Telenova's upcoming tour and to purchase their new record. All the details can be found in the show notes. Don't forget to visit our website and subscribe to the podcast while you're there as well. Now let's get into it. Here is our conversation with Angeline Armstrong from Telenova. Please welcome back to This Song Is Yours, Angeline Armstrong from Telenova. Hello, friend. How are you going?
Hello. I'm doing very well, thank you. It's a very exciting week.
Of course, it is an incredibly exciting week for yourself and the lads from the band. There's a brand new album out, Time is a Flower. It comes out this week. Firstly, congratulations on this record. How are you feeling?
Thank you. Look, a mix of emotions. It's kind of funny because obviously to our lovely fans and new audiences, it's a brand new record and every song is going to feel like such a new, fresh experience. But for us, some of these songs we've been sitting with for a couple of years. So there's an interesting kind of sense of nostalgia almost about some of this album. It's like an old favorite book or an old movie or something that we've always wanted to share with someone, and finally now we can. But yeah, I can't wait. I think sometimes you hold on to something way too long on your own and you need to share it with other people so that it can kind of be free to do its thing. So it's like we're letting it out of the cage and its wings are opening.
It is very exciting for yourself and for the guys, for Josh and Ed. Any of the three of you, I don't want to say the word impatient, but sometimes when you're holding on to something for so long.
You can definitely say impatient.
Were there ever times of maybe we should put this out, or were there times of maybe the reverse, going back and tinkering with things and kind of changing things after they've been kind of labelled as finished?
That's so funny. I honestly think that we as a band are quite impatient in that we've already finished writing the second album and we've started recording it. And we're like, let's just keep going. Let's start thinking about the third album now. And I think we get a little bit ahead of ourselves. It's usually our lovely management or A&R at the label and stuff that are like, hey, maybe tinker with this a little more, or try this, or push this and in a slightly different direction and see what happens. So I think it's really good to have that balance of voices. But I think it's a real strength of the band that none of us are too. We love making new things, so it kind of keeps the energy going. We don't get stuck mulling over something until we do it to death. If that makes sense.
I kind of like that though, and I think it's a very good quality to have in a band, especially if you're continually making music, which I know that the three of you are. Although previously three separate songwriters coming together. I think last time we spoke back in 2021, we went through the history of the band in terms of the songwriting camp and Mr. Chris Waller from Death Cab and his involvement.
That's it.
This album is what sounds like a massive step up from those two EPs. And those two EPs are sonically gorgeous as they are anyway. But this record, sonically, I found just really beautiful to sit and listen with. We were very lucky enough to have a listen to it before it's coming out this week, so thank you for that. But for you, I'm curious, with these sonics, do you and Josh and Ed sit and talk about what you want it to sound like before it's going to come out, or is it a thing of you kind of organically explore the soundscapes of where some songs kind of might go and see where they land?
Yeah, it's definitely closer to the latter. I guess because by the time we're actually in the, I suppose, what people would call recording phase, like recording the finals, the demo sonically, tonally, kind of aesthetically, I suppose, in terms of like the interesting bits that make it what it is, they're all already in place. And even a lot of, well, not a lot, but some of that audio from the original demos just makes it into the final as well, especially if it's something that we were really messing with creatively during the writing process. I think that's just what happens when it's a band of three songwriters, but two of those three songwriters are also music producers. So completely sort of kind of integrated with the songwriting process is the producing process and coming up with those sonic ideas and messing with things and finding the identity and character of the songs. Yeah, happens always in tandem with the lyrics and melodies. It's never like, here's a song we wrote an acoustic guitar and now we have to flesh it out and add other instruments. Everything is getting written, kind of in parallel. The guitar riff, the lyrics, the vocal, the drum beat, it's all happening at the same time.
I think that would be kind of cool to work with. I can only speak to from an outsider's perspective, but I imagine having more than just the usual kind of shell of like guitar or just a piano line kind of helps for yourself as one of the main songwriters to kind of be able to help then flesh it out with lyrics and see the song in even a more crystallized kind of way.
Yeah. I think there's kind of a dance to it where, this guitar lick might inform a melody, and then the melody I'm singing has informed something else. And this lyric that I've written, now feels like the chorus needs to be more energetic to support that. Or there's just all these different elements that kind of constantly speaking to each other, even in the songwriting process.
I think, what track was it? I think it was for Power. There was another producer. Was it Stylez Fuego?
Yes. Yeah. The guy is famous for doing Troye Sivan's like Grammy-nominated recent album.
He does have that notch on his belt. I think Troye Sivan, there was Tate McRae, I think Odessa or I think one or two big dance acts as well.
Just massive dance and pop acts, which is a pretty funny, like, it's not your go-to collaborator for us, I don't think, but he's in the family, as we call it. He's under our same management. So, sooner or later we're going to get thrown in the room together and just say, see what happens. And that song happened. So we wrote that all together from the start. That wasn't like with Stylez, which is cool. I think he brought that like dancier disco pop element to it that we might not have been able to come up with just with us three.
I'm really curious because imagine, and look, with no discredit to any of the boys, I imagine having two producers in the band and then you bring in a third that's not in the band. Not that they're territorial in any capacity, but I wonder, like, how do they amend to having another producer kind of, I guess, come and almost play in their playground? I know I'm making it seem so juvenile in how I'm wording it. But
It's so funny because, we do face that. That's a very real dynamic. But I think particularly with this group of people, I mean, it probably helped that Stylez has got all his platinum records and he's got his arias in the corner and stuff. There is a certain level of authority. I'm like, okay, we're working with Stylez. We've got 2 days. We know that Stylez is the boss. We're in Stylez' studio. I think that just helps that whoever's in the chair is sort of the boss at the time. And then he's got the session open. So I think it just comes down to mutual respect. The boys are really good at taking creative leadership, but they're used to kind of subbing in and out of the chair, I guess. So they call the hot seat. Take the hot seat is what they always say. They're used to kind of swapping places, and one will be on the back couch with me, or one will be lying on the floor of the studio, letting the other one kind of do his thing while they have a bit of a break, and then they'll switch places. I think it just comes down to mutual respect and having a chair at the front of the room that's this is the person who's got the power is probably helpful. It just clearly markates who's boss.
I absolutely love that. That's so good. I was wondering if you might be able to indulge me a little bit. Across this record, there's some gorgeous shimmering disco pop moments. There's one or two almost not singer-songwritery style songs, but I think
know what you mean though.
January was this gorgeous kind of I want to say folky-esque driven track. And that was almost the one I was going to ask about, but the one that I ended up coming back to time and time again was Tremors Traces.
Yes.
Has a gorgeous piano line that kind of just repeats and builds, and just loved your vocal on that. I was wondering if you could, I guess, share where that song came from or what was the catalyst behind it or what inspired it.
Yeah. Do you know what? You're probably going to get a more interesting answer out of me if you ask me about January. But that song, that was an example of one, I think, going back to what I was talking about before about this sort of dance of the piano sound informing the melody, informing this and that. We wrote that song from the ground up as a band. So when Josh was playing that piano part, there was this real rhythmic, evocative. It's kind of felt like time passing to me, sort of plodding along, and just it keeps moving and it keeps going and it keeps going and it's building to something, but does it ever quite reach that thing that it's building towards? And so all that's kind of emotion is what I was, I guess, getting inspired by and hearing that piano part. And so started jotting down lyrics that, related to this sense of looking back on something that happened in the past, someone that you knew, but the way that keeps rippling in and influencing tremors and traces that they've left in your life, that they keep kind of bubbling up to the surface in the present. I think when I'm writing the lyrics or I'm coming up with a melody, it's really informed by what the boys are doing and the emotion that is in the instruments that they're playing. So that's just an example of really a song that was truly, I guess, collaborative from the ground up in every element of how it came together.
I kind of love that. Thank you very much for sharing that with us.
You're welcome.
Out of curiosity, and not to push my luck, at the start then you just said there would have been a much more interesting story with January. Do you want to share that one, or we'll keep that for another time?
Yeah. No, I'd be happy to. I think that there are some songs that, are just okay, it's a work of poetry that I wrote and I'm proud of it and I wrote a story. And then there are other songs where it's no, this is, deeply, deeply personal and something that I had to write. And January is that song. So that's just why I thought it might be interesting to talk about. It's interesting though, because the boys actually wrote the kind of main beat and chords and that fun guitar line that goes, woo. They wrote that in a session on their own when they were just putting together a little bank of backing tracks, I guess, for me to try and write to. And when I came into the studio and they played me a bunch, that song just immediately, more than the others, I just felt so much emotion coming up, and it was so I was like, wow, how is this like guitar riff and these chords evoking so much and there's no melody and no lyrics yet? And I mean, probably because I was pretty fragile at the time, but I had just recently found out that someone that I really, really love very dearly was probably not going to make it. Like, the whole ambulance had pulled up in the driveway and got the phone call from family saying they're in hospital, and they lived overseas. And because it was COVID, I haven't been able to see them for several years. And it was just like this crazy, like I think we were in, I don't know, it was the middle of the year, and I was supposed to go there in January to see her. And I just was just like, oh my gosh, can you just please stick around at least until January, because I haven't been able to fly over to see you, and hopefully it's going to line up. But yeah, just that experience of loving someone so much and being so scared of losing them and not knowing how to express it at all, and just feeling so overwhelmed with that. That is what was going on for me that day when I heard that instrumental for the first time. And I guess something in the way it sounded just resonated with those feelings. And I don't always write a song in one go, but I wrote the melody that day and started sketching out the lyrics. And just, I remember that night driving home from the studio, I just started crying, just thinking about how I was going to tell this person that I love them. And I just pulled over on the side of the road and wrote it all down as lyrics, because I was like, I don't know how to say it. I don't know how to like write it in an email or a letter or something. I have to sing it because that's the only way to capture the emotion of what I mean. So yeah, that was just one of those really like cathartic, beautiful. It's why I first discovered songwriting and why I fell in love with it as a like moody pubescent teenager. Was just like, I have so many feelings, I don't know how to process these, and music is kind of my therapy. So for me that song on the record is very special because I needed to write it. There was so much bottled up that needed to come out, and I got to play that song for that person. So that was really beautiful.
That's so cool. Thank you so much for sharing that. I honestly a few little goosebumps just on my arms here as you're telling that.
It's magic when you can put something that intense that you feel into a song and feel like it's captured it.
100%. Again, I know we've talked about the origins of the band, but I would like to touch a little bit on what you just mentioned at the end there. I guess what originally got you into songwriting at the start.
Yeah. It was, I guess it's like a musical diary entry is really what it was. I have such vivid memories of just like, it's 1 a.m. in the morning. I've got school the next day, but I can't sleep. And I'm sitting on my bed with like my little lamp on and a little electric guitar, and I'm just scrolling lyrics down and singing the emotions I'm feeling. And then it makes me feel better, and then I can fall asleep. That is really how songwriting started for me. And that's what it kind of was for the majority of what it was for, I don't know, 6 years all through high school. And, obviously now with Telenova, I'm not exactly like sitting on my bed with the boys there, like crying about my life. But so, sometimes.
Look, everyone's process is different. So whatever of gets us to the end, we've got a beautiful record in Time is a Flower. So however we get there. I'm really excited for you guys as well, because it looks as though you're on the road. Well, I think there were even some shows a few weeks ago with Girl in Red and a few supports here and there, but you're kind of across Australia, across Europe, across the UK, almost till the end of the year, which is kind of exciting.
Yeah, it's exciting and daunting, to be honest. But it's like the show part is always beautiful. Like I have all the energy in the world to, meet new fans and play to new crowds and share that connection with them. But I guess what a lot of people don't maybe think about when they think of a musician on tour is that like the show's an hour and all the time in between is travel and loading baggage on and off the carousel. And fortunately the Europe tour is a lot more driving. So hopefully I'll just be looking out a window at some pretty scenery. But yeah, it's very exciting, but it's also quite daunting because it is kind of exhausting.
It's a lot of time with the same group of people as well, which I imagine can be
and that too.
testing.
Yeah. Fortunately, like we never have like all out fights, but we definitely get on each other's nerves. Like we definitely just need a bit of a break. And I think I think that's where our management really shine when they're booking our like accommodation stuff, that there's always like a great balance between like Airbnbs where we're sharing, you know, the space, and then it's like, oh, we're in a hotel. Interesting. This is right when we needed it. It's like they kind of know like every 3 or 4 nights we're probably going to need our own rooms to just like have some space.
I think that's, probably a very good job on their behalf in terms of how they've managed that to ensure peace between the band.
Exactly.
Do you have any, I guess, tricks for when you're on the road? Are you someone who will you, like you mentioned before, it might be driving, will you read, will you listen to music, will you just kind of sleep while traveling between?
I wish I could read, but I get really car sick if I look at a book, and I also can't listen to audiobooks for some reason. Like my brain just starts making up other stuff and like I just can't concentrate. I can listen to podcasts though, so you're lucky. Sorry, what was the question? What do I do? Yeah, I listen to a lot of music. Honestly, just like nap a lot because I don't sleep very well when I'm not at home, which is pretty crap trait for a musician because you're often like sleeping in a hotel bed or like, not a familiar room. But yeah, I listen to music. I try to actually spend quite a lot of time just like looking out the window and trying not to think about too much and just kind of rest my brain, because the sort of spike of the up and down, like adrenaline rush of a show and then down again, like it just sort of requires a bit of self-care, and I can't sit in a park. So I just sit in the back seat of the car and, pretend I'm under a tree or something. And just, I mean, we eat healthy. Like last trip, the band started like we love going to the swimming pool like to do laps. So we started checking out all these different like swimming pools in all the different European cities we were in, which is like a podcast in and of itself that the boys have to do sometime, because there's just all these like funny regulations and like things that are completely different culturally in other countries that are hilarious that we encountered in all our many trips to swimming pools. But yeah, staying healthy, eating healthy, and getting enough alone time in the back seat.
All very fair. And please, when you do start that podcast, please let us know, because we'd love to hear that. I think that would be a very interesting subject matter.
Not sure if you're being honest there, but I would definitely find it interesting.
No, 100%. No, like legitimately would find it. Where was it? We went, my wife and I went swimming in Europe, in Iceland last year, and like some of the rules and regulations around that were like, oh, that's quite interesting, or you don't see that. And so would be, very curious to kind of continue on and see different cities. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Josh wears these like little board shorts that have like squids and octopuses on them, and like they're just really fun. And I think there was one pool he went to where they were like, you can't wear shorts, like you have to wear Speedos. This is a swimming pool. Like there's stuff where like the like guy at the pool has thrown a swimming cap in the water after Ed, because he's like, you can't swim without a swimming cap on. Like just absurd stuff where it's like, what's your problem? It's pretty funny.
The swimming cap one is kind of okay. Again,
I think a hygiene thing, maybe, like, you don't want any hairs. I don't know.
In terms of touring for yourself, off this new record, For Time Is a Flower, is there any track that you're looking forward to either debuting live that you haven't yet, or one that is off the record that you've had the ability to kind of debut live already, but it's just kind of your favourite in that live arena?
Yeah, Margot, like by far. I think for me, it kind of has that Bones, which was the other song I love playing live, and Blue Valentine. They're probably my top 3. Sorry, those are old songs. But Margot, like those, I think has really defined kind of scene changes and dynamics where the song will drop down really low and then it'll build and there'd be like filtered section and then it gets really energetic. And I just, as a front person, those songs are the most exciting, and they also tend to get the biggest reactions from the crowd, which makes it really exciting. But yeah, I love playing with the dynamic of kind of scene changes and telling a story, with which all 3 of those songs do really well. So yeah, Margot, I have loved performing live, and given it's not out yet, it's also just been, it is out. Wait, when is it out? Where are we in time right now?
People will be able to purchase it right now.
Given we played Margot to crowds long before it had come out and received such a like energetic reaction, That just helped me love playing that song even more.
I absolutely love that. It is an incredible track. As I mentioned, incredible album. I wanted to touch on very quickly. I think last time we talked about your work as a filmmaker as well, and kind of how that plays into the creative process with the band. And I know for this time around, I think you directed both the music videos for, I'm going to get this wrong, so please correct me if I did, for Power and Discotheque in My Head.
Yes, and Discotheque Inside My Head, and also Teardrop, which was the first one. So 3. Yes. Yeah.
For you, firstly, stunning visuals, absolutely gorgeous, suit the sonics of the album so well as well. For you, is it something that you can kind of see these things in your mind when you're in the studio, when you're listening back to the music and you've kind of already got an idea of where you can take the songs?
I actually purposefully try to kind of flick that switch off when we're songwriting, just because I don't want to be biased. I don't want the filmmaker in me to kind of be like, oh, I've always wanted to do, a crane shot over the ocean or something. And then that kind of pigeonhole me into trying to write a song that, like, I don't know, is talking about that. Mm-hmm. So no, I actually deliberately don't imagine what the music videos might be while we're writing the songs. And then sort of once the song's finished, switch the switch in my brain, flick the switch in my brain and go like, okay, I'm in director mode now, and then listen to the song with kind of that brain on and just like allow all the kind of imagery to flood back in. That's my process from a technical kind of standpoint as a director. And this might be confusing because it sounds like I'm saying the opposite, but I'm not. When I'm songwriting though, I do feel like I'm using director muscles, in that it's like I'm thinking about, this is going to sound like I'm contradicting myself, but to me there's a subtle difference. But yeah, it's like who's the character in the scene, and what's the mood of the lighting, and how does that feel? Like I'm kind of using those visuals, like what's the motivation of the character to help write the lyrics. So yeah, I guess I flick the switch between director and songwriter whenever it's convenient.
But again, whatever works for you, and it obviously does seem to work in a great way.
Yeah.
Which one was it? I think for Discotheque Inside My Head, that was quite a like a bigger, almost like a little bit of like a short film in a way, like a larger music video. One day, maybe, I know you already mentioned the second record is in the works. Would you ever look at doing something to like a visual album? Like
yes.
Almost, yeah.
Yeah. I'd love to. That's all I'd say. I would love to. I don't know if it'll happen on the next album or the album after that, because you need more budget to do that as well.
Also very fair.
Yeah. But no, I mean, me scratching that itch is definitely like in the Discotheque Inside My Head. It was like, okay, I can't make like an hour-long album visual film, but I can do, I can afford 6 minutes of crew and editing and cinematography. So what can we do in that 6 minutes? But yeah, it's absolutely a dream of mine. I would love to.
Well, look, again, manifesting, put it out to the universe somewhere. Yeah. That budget will just appear from somewhere.
It will. Yeah.
And we'll get that visual album. Angeline, last time that we got to have a chat back in 2021, you very kindly made us a playlist. And I think that it included artists like Jeff Buckley, and there was some early Coldplay on this playlist. Usually we would ask our guests.
It's like, I don't listen to Coldplay anymore. That sounds like ages ago.
I have a feeling it might have been, we were talking about either Parachutes or like the EP that they did before the debut. It was very early stuff.
Yeah, it would have been Parachutes, I think. Yeah, or like, it was early.
I'm curious now to give us a little bit of an update. Is there anything that you're currently listening to that's on high rotation for yourself?
Yeah. I don't think Caroline Polachek was around as a solo artist back then, maybe 2020, or maybe she was, but I had only just started tuning in. But she's an artist that I listen to so much. I love her whole world building vision for her music. Lyrics are so creative and wacky. Her voice is actually technically incredible. It's just like, what's not to love? What else have I got? I mean, I do actually really love the latest Billie Eilish album and the latest Ariana Grande album. And my kind of go-to that I always come back to is Radiohead, really, which I surely would have included some Radiohead in the earlier playlist, but
I think you did. I think we actually did discuss.
In Rainbows, King of Limbs, they're probably, those are the two albums that I'm listening to a lot at the moment from them.
All very, very solid choices. I think chatting with a few different artists in the last number of weeks, and it seems, I know Caroline was last year but has kind of extended into this year, but it seems like it's very much like 2024 is a year for the girls. Billy, Ariana, Caroline, Charlie, so many good. Yeah,
Charlie's album's so fun as well. I have been listening to that recently too. I've also been listening to a lot of Australian, I keep coming back to Maple Gliders records. I love Angie McMahon's recent album release. I call it recent. I guess it was last year now, but we have a lot of really beautiful female artists in this country as well.
We are very lucky, agreed with that. And I would, and not simply to say this to suck up, but I would say yourself included in that with Telenova. Super excited to see the journey that Time is a Flower is going to go on. But thank you very much for coming to chat to us about the record. It is out now. When people are listening to this, we'll put links in the show notes so that people can buy it, catch you on tour, purchase, the vinyls, all the merch, everything else. But Angeline, thank you again for coming on.
Thank you so much.
NetCredit is here to say yes to a personal loan or line of credit when other lenders say no. Apply in minutes and get a decision as soon as the same day. Loans offered by NetCredit or lending partner banks and serviced by NetCredit. Application subject to review and approval. Learn more at netcredit.com/partner. NetCredit. Credit to the people.